Hello Guardians, it is Ebontis here, and in this video I want to cover the main reason you should be playing the Nightfall this week. I know we got Iron Banner going on. If you're looking for Pinnacles, it's a, eventual way to get there. Also, make sure you turn in your Iron Banner tokens, but I'll probably cover that a little bit later. Maybe me turning in the 2,000 that I have, and people have way more than 2,000 as well. But the idea of the Nightfall this week is going to be dropping a very unique weapon, and depending on what level you play it at, you've got a pretty solid chance to get it. If you play it on Legend, you should be seeing some decent options, or Master, but those are not match made. Even on Hero, though, it is an uncommon chance. So, like, in theory, it's going to be more common than Prisms, and if you play enough Nightfalls, you'll see a Prism every so often. So, it has a chance to drop on a match-made option. Now, if you go for Grandmasters, it's actually one of the easier Grandmasters to do, because we are talking about the strike that's going to be the arms dealer. So, of all Grandmasters to do, arms dealer's probably the one to actually try. But the idea is, even on Hero, you get a chance of the Nightfall weapon, and that is going to be a unique auto rifle. Now, before I get into D2 Gunsmith and showing you guys perks, there's one thing I want to show you with regards to an important piece about this. We know right now champions or Overload are going to require an auto rifle or an SMG. SMGs tend not to be the general option unless you're using something like Osteostriga. It's not too bad, but depending on the range, even that thing can be out of the realm of reasonable. This one, for auto rifles, probably what I would personally lean towards. Now, I will totally tell you, if you have Barrier and some other champion, I'm going to go Arbalist if I have it. But if you don't have Arbalist and you're using your exotic maybe for your heavy slot, like Galahorn, for example, especially as there's a solar burn, could get you some benefits out of that one. The fact that we have a origin trait on an auto rifle that's going to help you with stunning champions, and this is what we have this season, a good thing to pick up, and maybe also good for future seasons when maybe stunning not an overload, but maybe a barrier. So you've got points where overload, auto rifles tend to be used for champions some way or another, and if not, then it's probably going to come the next season. But stunning a champion partially refills your magazine, so there's some ammo back. Triggers health regeneration, which if you were trying to stun them, may have been an issue when you're trying to stun an overload, definitely can hurt. And improves recovery, which, depending on if you were out of that damage receiving time for a little while, you'll get your health recharge kicked off a little bit sooner. So it's actually a very beneficial thing to have this on an auto rifle, because whether it's a season where we have overload right now, which I still can't stand, Bungie, if you watch this, please, auto rifles and overloads, they just don't feel great. I'll be honest, and especially depending on where you put some of these at range, they're not that fun. But if you have overload or auto rifle for, say, barrier, we've totally had that before, this is going to make it a very nice, viable option. So, I wanted to point out the origin trait before I go through all of the perks, but this origin trait alone is worth farming for one of these. 600 auto rifles tend to feel pretty good. You've got some good perks on this one, so let's go over those. So, if you go to d2gunsmith.com, you can type in duty bound, but I would just recommend using this as a pretty frequent site. So what I want to look at first is your recoil direction. It's going to lean pretty hard to the right, but if you throw a counterbalance on there, since it's at 60, you're going to get that perfectly vertical recoil. Not a bad thing at all. Depending on what you mess with, that one can be just an easy go-to. You want to do something, if you're going for champions, Major Spec might be a way to do in PvE, could be an option, but if you just really aren't loving it, and again, if you are going for champions, this is probably worth it. Major Spec is going to be, and then we can mess with recoil somewhere else. But if you're just looking to put that recoil direction perfectly vertical, 75, counterbalance will do it pretty much straight away. Then you've got your masterwork options. Depending on if you're mouse and keyboard, or if you are on controller, you're going to want a couple different options. Stability and range, both in the 40s, is not amazing. But if you're going for stability, you can go stability masterwork if you're looking for that one to drop. If you're on mouse and keyboard, I would most likely tell you range every time, because we can handle stability a little bit better. Less aim assist though, so that's kind of a thing. Aim assist on this one is 73. So you've already got a decent amount of help there as it is. And then handling, not too shabby, so you don't have to worry about too much on those. So with regards to the stats, in your magazine category, I don't tend to want to ever give up range on an auto rifle, personally. But if for some reason you're on controller and you ended up with something like this, for example, yeah, you'd give up range, but you would have the range masterwork, but you'd be getting 13 stability to help that thing be a bit more controllable. That wouldn't be the end of the world. Tactical mag, stability, reload, and magazine. It's not bad, and you would be getting a little bit of stability out of it, a little more, 3 more bullets in the magazine, probably not that worth it to me. My personal goal would be to get accurized rounds. That's just me. And again, I'll take the masterwork literally off of this thing, so it's just not there. So right now, just a base gun, if you get accurized rounds, that would be my #1 goal, is accurized rounds to get this roll. Then you've got choice. Now I'm going to take off that counterbalance mod as well, so we're back to default. If you get arrowhead break, you are going to get 90, which is next to vertical recoil. And give it a little bit of handling, not the worst thing. And again, you're getting 30 in recoil, so you go from 60 to 90. At that point, counterbalance is not necessary because that is definitely a mod you would potentially want to use. And if you get one with arrowhead break and one of these other ones I tell you, that's a nice way to go back and forth if you're having issues with the recoil. Now, you've got recoil direction of 10, which is just 70. It flips it from the right to the left, but you do get 9 stability out of it, and you give up a little handling. That's not bad. And again, if you put the counterbalance on it, it's still going to be vertical as well. So if you're at the 0s, you're at the widest part, either left or right, and if you're at a 5 for recoil direction, you are going to be perfectly vertical. Chambered compensator, not bad, a little more recoil, good chunk of stability, depends on what you want to give up. This is going to be a decent middle ground. Stability, handling, and range for corkscrew rifling. Not a bad thing. Again, you are probably going to want that counterbalance to make it more vertical. If you're on mouse and keyboard, maybe you can manage it a little better if you're fighting champions. Again, up to you. That one's a nice middle ground, but again, I'm not too worried about handling. It's already 67, so I feel like that's not the best to go for. Extended barrel. You are going to give up handling. You're going to get 9 in range, which is a nice little chunk. And depending on if you want stability, if you're on controller, you can get some if you get lucky on the masterwork. If you get something like range, then you're really almost taking that thing out to 70 range with this extended barrel. You are giving up handling, but if you're not worried about the handling, that's not too shabby. And the recoil direction at 70, you can get that thing to 85 with counterbalance. Stability and handling here, not too shabby. Again, accurized rounds got to be my #1. Got to get that range up on an auto rifle, always do. Stability and handling, I think the handling's kind of an overkill hill for just the 5 stability. Now, if you are good with everything else and you just want to crank range to the max, that's going to give you not 14 in range, but you are giving up 9 stability. And if you are on controller, full bore is probably just asking a bit too much. Now, hammer-forged rifling, not giving anything up, and say you maybe got a stability masterwork at this point, now you've got 9 in range there, 9 in range there, and depending on if you, maybe you got a stability masterwork, if you get range, we're seeing this thing now out to 69, nice, for range, with the range and range there. And then if you throw counterbalance on there, it's going to be pretty controllable. But if you want a little bit more variety, if you want stability, you can go 9, which is fine if you're messing with the masterwork. But the final thing here, honestly, still one of my favorites is small bore. 6 stability, 7 range. Up here, you're getting 9 range. Here, you're getting 7, so you're giving up 2. Here, you're getting 9 stability. Stability, you're getting 6. Small bore is my go-to on this one without a question, personally. Now, if you really hate the recoil pattern, it's just too much to the side, arrowhead break, or theoretically also chambered compensator, probably going to help your recoil direction a little bit tighter, and then the stability would be pretty good. But if you can get small bore and you can manage the recoil with something like counterbalance for PvP, do that. And then if you're taking it into PvE, then major spec and just know you're going to have that recoil. But you've got a boost in stability of 6, not giving anything up, and you're up to 16 more range. Finally, your perks. This is where it actually gets fun. I told you guys the stunning recovery for Nightfalls is amazing. Final blows with this weapon grant a small amount of health. Not bad either. But the perks on this weapon, first off, I gotta show you this one alone. You got triple tap and 4th times the charm. These together, I don't know if I've ever seen this on an auto rifle, or if I have, it's been a while. But I feel like you would literally never run out of bullets. Triple tap, if you're getting precision, you get 3, you get 1 back in the magazine. 4th times the charm, if you get 4, you get 2. So if you get 1, 2, 3, that's 1. The 4th would be 2. That's 3 bullets back for firing 4. Theoretically, your magazine's going to last for a very, very long time. If this was a viced weapon, you would never need to reload. So that's an option for a lot of bullets. Not per se the best, but also you've got stats for all, 1 for all. That combination, if you hit 3 different targets, getting that 35% damage bonus for 10 seconds is massive. And then on top of that, you're getting extra range, extra stability, handling, and reload speed. Those two are going to work very, very well together. Now, if you want this for a champion weapon, it's probably not worth it. Overloads, if you are trying to kill it with a champion weapon, fine, that this technically would help. But honestly, if just killing a bunch of random stuff with this, it's probably going to be a more viable option. Now, Frenzy does take 12 seconds to activate. That's the only issue I have with Frenzy. If you're in combat for a while, cool. It's on, it's sitting there, it's always there. You don't have to worry about hitting 3 different targets. You got handling, and you get reload speed, plus the 15% increased damage. It's not bad, by any stretch. If you're not hitting all the different targets, and you're not really leaning in the stats for all, one for all, Frenzy, you could totally pair with triple tap. That would be a very viable option. You could also do triple tap and just straight up rampage, honestly. So you've definitely got some options here. Steady hands, not really too excited about that one. Perpetual motion, if you're moving around, maybe, but again, not really too exciting. If you want the most stable gun in the world, you could do Zen Moment and Dynamic Sway Reduction and just have a laser beam, depending on what you go for. And maybe, theoretically, this would be a great thing for PvP. Theoretically, could be very good. If you do this in PvP, and you can get Zen Moment and Dynamic Sway Reduction, depending on how many times you're shooting somebody, this one probably wouldn't proc, I'll be honest. I would probably expect almost anything else like Rampage to be better, but Dynamic Sway Reduction in PvP, not really going to see that one. Zen Moment, I could see that one. Just causing damage causes everything to really tighten up and get close. But if I'm going for damage, triple tap recoil for PvE, stats for all and one for all for PvE. If you want to never run out of bullets and you get this as this one, I think it would be fun to experiment, but I think the bullets aren't really going to be that necessary. And then Frenzy could be paired with probably triple tap, could be paired with stats for all, could be paired with a couple different options. I just wanted to point out this auto rifle because it's unique, and it's one that I suggest you guys going for. And again, remember, if you do something like 4 times the charm, you could pair it with some other stuff over here. Compulsive Reloader, not really exciting. Steady Hands, not too much for me. But again, that's exciting. Perpetual Motion, theoretically could be good if you are moving around. But Triple Tap and this one, Zen Moment and this one, you really probably would just be accurate as can be. Perpetual Motion, stats for all, if you want to have something on there, wouldn't be too bad. But I would probably prefer the Triple Tap paired with a type of damage. Rampage, Frenzy, one for all. And then don't forget about stats for all. So that's my main thoughts on this weapon and why you guys should be probably playing the Nightfalls this season because of the potential of this weapon. Depending on your masterwork, again, you could go stability, crank that thing out to 60 now. With a 75 recoil, it's going to be pretty easy to manage. If you get lucky in the range department, if you do get small bore and accurized rounds and you get a range masterwork, say mouse and keyboard feels better, crank this thing out really, really far. It's going to go from 58 to 67 total range that you're going to have. Very, 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 very usable, like auto rifles. You got damage fall off 17 to 30 meters. Reload speed, not too bad. So overall, this is a very cool auto rifle. It's a kinetic. It's a 600. They do feel good. You've got some nice damage perks. You've got some nice usability of bullets. The stunning for champions is going to be very viable. So I would recommend, and I'm probably going to try and get a couple of these this week just because I'm always kind of not entirely sure. I have a couple auto rifles that I like, but this one always just kind of is one that I've actually missed for a while. And 600s tend to be very reliable. They don't tend to get nerfed too hard or brought up too far. They're kind of in a good spot, and I don't think they're going to change too much. So if you get a good roll on this one, definitely hold on to it. If you guys enjoyed this video, drop a like below. Let me know if you guys get any good rolls on your duty-bound auto rifle. Good luck in the Nightfall runs to everybody. If you enjoyed the video, as I said, drop a like, leave a comment below. If you want to even just say hello, you can find me on Twitter or Twitch. It's Ebontis. And right here on YouTube, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button, hit the alert bell. You guys who are YouTube members and Patreons, thank you for that extra support. But all of you are amazing, and I'll see you in the next one.